right, looks like it's Sharon. So first and foremost, just want to thank everyone for taking the time here today to view the demonstration. Thanks to the Optimus team for having Professional Advantage on. As Fran mentioned, my name is Griffin Swanson here from Professional Advantage. I'm the channel product manager here for our two GP add-on modules, Collections Management and Company Data Archive, and then our new Business Central module as well, Collect 365. So Collect 365 is what we're going to show you here today. A lot of you might be familiar with what the collections tool that we have in GP today as well. Collect 365 here, that's the goal, is to get it up to speed to what collections management is today. However, what I'm showing you here today is the first release that we've had of Collect 365. So it is relatively new to a lot of customers still to this day. We're currently in the process of getting out our second release, which is going to include some cool new features. Was just kind of talking about that with the Optimus team before we hopped on here. So it's going to be something that we continue to develop going forward, but just want to make it very clear that what you're seeing here today is our very first release of Collect 365. And so what we're starting on here is the Collect 365 Role Center. And this is basically where your collectors are going to start their day. You can see here we have some collection activities along with some just general activities that are in relation to your overdue sales documents. And then at the bottom here, you can also see your top 5 debtors. So we're going to circle back to this window here. Ultimately, this is where, again, you're going to start your day and all of your collection activities and past due renewals or past due follow-ups will be stored here. So again, we'll come full circle to this window here, but before we do that, got to show you a couple of setup items to begin with. So the nice thing about Business Central here is it allows you to use the search bar at the top. We've used a naming convention for our product called Collect 365. So you'll be able to type that in here at the top, and all of the features that we have for Collect 365 you'll see with that naming convention. So the first thing I want to show you here is just setting up some collectors. Pretty straightforward. You're setting them up with a user ID, a name, email address, and a phone number if you want to as well. Now, once you have your collector or multiple collectors set up, you're then going to assign those collectors to your customers. Now, this is going to be more of a core BC thing here, but if you type in your customers at the top, you'll be able to drill into that customer list. So this is going to show you all of the customers that you have inside of Business Central. You can see kind of a high level overview of all of your customers here, but let's just pick the top one here of Sports Myers Furnishings. So what we've done here with this customer card is we've added a field called collector. So then you're going to be able to assign your specific collectors to a specific customer. Now you might be asking yourself already, do we really need to individually assign these collectors to customers? No, we have a query window, which I'm going to show you later in the demonstration, which would allow you to bulk assign a collector to a large list of customers as well. But if you needed to do that from a one-off perspective, you can certainly do that here from the customer card too. So that is the first setup item that I want to show you. The next setup item here then is going to be your aging. So type in Collect 365 again. This is going to be called Collect 365 Setup. And what you're doing is you're predefining your aging bucket. So you can set all the way up to 10 aging buckets here. We see most customers use anywhere from 3 to 5 aging buckets, but you have the ability to set up to 10, and you're just using the standard BC functionality to set those specific periods. You'll see this come into play on the Collect 365 Hub window, which is actually going to be the feature that I show you here next. So Collect 365 Hub, outside of the Collection Role Center, which you can still see in the background, this is going to be the next feature that your customers want to drill into. And what this is going to do is going to show all of your customer contact details. So you can hit this customer drop-down list first and foremost. You can select from a full list, and it's going to show you all of the customers that you have in BC. So let's just go ahead and select one of these top ones again. Let's change it up here, go to New Concepts Furniture. So once you have that customer selected, it's going to show you the customer name, the salesperson code, the credit limit you have assigned to that customer. I can see their balance that's due, and the payments that have been made. Now you notice these three here are hyperlinks. So I can drill into this as well. It's going to pull open a customer ledger entry window here, and you can see all of those invoices. Now, we've tried to make Collect 365 very compatible with these customer ledger entry windows, because ultimately this is where the money's stored, right? And so we want to make sure that we can actually assign task and follow-up items from these customer ledger entry windows. I'm going to show you guys how to do that here in just a few minutes, but just note it goes full circle again with this type of feature or window here. Next thing we have then is the note. So this is just a one-off note here where you're probably going to put some one-off statements. For example, customer has net 30 payment terms. Customer makes all payments via credit card. Now, I mentioned earlier before we started the demonstration that we're in the process of getting out our second release. The two new features that we're going to be adding in that release is number one, individual customer collection notes. So instead of just a one-off note here, you're actually going to be able to create individual notes, assign them to a particular collector, and attach specific invoices as well. And then those collection notes there will essentially act as follow-up tasks. So again, if any of you are familiar with the feature or the tool that we have in Great Plains today, GP, Collections Management, one of the main features and functionality is creating individual customer collection notes. You'll be able to do that here in the next release. And then since I'm talking about it here, the other feature that you'll see in that release is going to be a one-off email feature. So you'll see that here at the top of the window. Once you drill into that, it's going to pull open a pop-up window that allows you to send a one-off email to the customer, again, attaching specific invoices to that email. Next thing we have here then is the contacts. So this is just setting up contacts for that particular customer. And then we're assigning tasks to this customer as well. So we can assign an action type, collector code, due date, a status, subject, and priority level. We can create those tasks right from this window here. I'm not going to do that because I'm actually going to create a task here in just a minute or two from the aging buckets. But just note, if you needed to say, okay, I need to set a quick reminder here for this customer, this would allow you to assign a task here. You can also put a description for that task at the bottom. Now, the interactions log, this is a core BC feature that we included today. Interactions are basically the result of a task. So for example, let's say you make a phone call to a customer and say, hey, customer so-and-so, you now have an invoice that's 10 days past due. The interaction would say, I made a phone call to that customer and let them know they have past due invoices. We really don't think that's necessary. The description here for the task can probably suffice for that type of messaging. So you're likely going to see us replace this interactions feature here with a new feature in the future. But again, it's in there for the time being as kind of a core BC feature as it stands today. And then finally at the bottom here, we have the customer's aging. Again, you can set up different aging buckets for your customers. I have 5 aging buckets set up today. You can see here all the way up to 91 plus. And again, these are hyperlinks. So we can drill into any one of these aging buckets. So 91 plus, let's drill into this here. This is going to pull open another customer ledger entry window, and I'm actually going to show you what we can do from these ledger entry windows right now. So first and foremost, if you select an invoice, it's going to show you those customer ledger entry details here. You can actually drill into that invoice and see what is on that invoice in terms of general information, as well as the line items. This is Core Business Central here, but again, we want to give you the ability to drill into that specific invoice. You can select multiple invoices if you want to, or you can just focus in on one particular invoice. And then really where the Collect 365 functionality comes into play is from these actions here. So for any of these invoices, you can hit this function drop down. You can do a lot with it. But what I really want to focus in on here is creating a task, because this is going to be the follow-up task for your collectors. From this window, you can see it says create collection task. Going to be assigned to that particular customer. We'll assign it to a task type. You can create new task types if you want to as well. Let's just test this out. We're going to go ahead and assign this to myself. And then we'll go ahead and assign this for, let's do next Friday, the 25th. Testing with Optimus. Testing. All right, so quick, easy example there. I just created a task. You might be wondering, okay, well, where does that get stored? We're gonna hop back into this Collect 365 hub window, and there you can see that task was added to our task list. Again, showing you the action type, collector code, due date, the status for that, as well as the priority level. So that is the Collect 365 Hub window there. Again, we're going to be adding 2 new features in the next release, a one-off email and individual collector notes too, or collection notes rather. But let's hop back into this Collect 365 Hub, or excuse me, Collect 365 Collection Role Center here. Now you notice we still have 4 pending actions, but I'm going to click refresh on this page here, and you can do that by clicking F5 on your keyboard. There you can see we now have 5 pending actions. Why? Because we just created that task from the customer ledger entry window. You can see we now have testing with Optimus from your pending actions. So this collection role center here, again, going to be your starting point or to-do list for that day. So we drill in here and say, okay, we got $65,000 that are past due. So we drill into this here and we can see those invoices that are past due. Again, you can select these or select multiple invoices here and create them into a task. Once those tasks go past due, you're going to see them go to overdue actions, and then all of your completed actions will be shown here as well. So for example, let's say you have multiple collectors, one of your collectors goes out on vacation, and you follow up on some of those users' tasks. If you get back in, you're going to want to see the work that was actually completed. So you'll be able to come in here and say, oh, okay, looks like some of these actions were actually completed. I don't need to follow up on that anymore. And then finally here at the bottom, we have overdue sales documents. It's very relative to the overdue amount that you're seeing here. But again, just shows you some of those activities that we can follow up on. Here are those invoices that are past due. So that is the collection role center. Now, the next feature I want to show you here then is creating a query. Let's go ahead and search that here. Collect 365 customer queries. Now, I have 3 different examples set up here today already. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page just to see here if anybody else was added. All right, so I have 3 set up there. Now, if you want to set up a new query from scratch, all you need to do is hit this new button. Now, do bear with me, everyone. I am relatively new to Business Central and creating queries myself. I just want to show you how many options you have when it comes to creating a query. So first and foremost, you'll just assign it to a code here. You might just put in a simple name like sales. What is the description for that specific query? And then you're going to actually filter that via the customer view and customer ledger view. Now we have a lot of filters in here. You can see 5 by default. We also have this filter tab at the bottom here. Now we have probably too many, to be honest with you. You can see here it's a pretty extensive list. So I reached out to my Australia team, those who are doing the development on this Collect 365 module. And I said, hey, is there any way that we can condense this list here? Unfortunately, we can't just eliminate any of these functions. These are core Business Central, but talking with one of our new BC developers, they said what we'll likely do here in the future is create a whole new tab that just has collection specific functionality. So again, there's a lot of different features and functionality that you can work with here today, but just know in one of the future releases, probably not the next release, but the 3rd release, we're going to have more of a collection view as well that has more relevant filters, because you can also drill into this customer ledger view as well here, and it gives you quite a few more options there. So pretty extensive list. Might have some customers that take advantage of all these features, but ultimately we want to make that more simplistic or easier to use. Now, let me just show you how this query works here. So let's run this sales query here. I'm going to run these lines. It's going to show you the 3 customers that met those restrictions. The nice thing about this is you can drill into any one of these customers here at the top, and it's going to change those invoices down at the bottom open for that customer. You can drill into each individual customer as well from here. That's going to pull open that Collect 365 hub. And then if you need to, you can also delete customers out of here as well. For example, let's say we reach out to John Haddock Insurance and say, oh, you know what? I just sent these guys an email yesterday. I don't need to follow up with them again today. You can also delete them out of the queue here as well. That does remove them temporarily. So if you go out, do your normal day-to-day normal day-to-day BC activities. You can tell I've done a lot of GP demos in my day. Let's say you run this here, refresh it, come back, drill into this lines again. There you can see the 3 customers are going to be under that query because, again, John Haddock technically meets the restrictions that you have set. So you can delete them out of here, but just note that that is temporarily until they don't meet those restrictions that you have set up in here. So that is the queries window. Again, one of the things I wanted to show you from here is bulk assigning customers as well. So you might go in here and say, okay, I know my collector A needs to be assigned to all of these customers here. You can also assign a collector to them in bulk. So that being said, that is going to wrap up the Collect 365 demonstration here today. Again, this is the first release that we've had of the module. The next release should be out sometime in July. That's kind of the tentative deadline that we're setting right now. The new BC developer that we have working on Collect 365 was just hired 3 weeks ago. He's very eager to add new functionality to the module, but as you all know, 3 weeks is still pretty early as well. So we're not trying to put too many deadlines on him quite yet. But like I said, he seems very eager and wants to get out this next release as soon as possible, which again is going to include the one-off email functionality and individual collection notes. So if any of you are interested in that, you can certainly reach out to me or anybody at the Optimus team. We can add you to our Collect 365 customer marketing list. All of the features and new updates will be sent to our customers and prospects there. But at this time, let's go ahead and see if any questions have come through. All right, I am not seeing any questions at this time. So again, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to view Collect 365 for Business Central. I'll be working with the Optimus team here going forward. So again, I'm the channel product manager for 2 GP add-on modules, Collections Management and Company Data Archive, as well as the Business Central module that I showed you here today, Collect 365. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to myself or anybody at the Optimus team, and we'll be sure to answer those. But in the meantime, everyone, have a great day and have a wonderful week.